I'd like to start the meeting. I call to order for the Highgate Selectboard meeting, February 1st, 2024. First order of business, pledge of allegiance, please. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. All right, we're going to start with public comment if anybody's got anything. Sue, I wasn't even done. You got your hand up. Go ahead.
Well, I just wanted to let you know on Tanglewood, somebody hit the sign down there and the sign is tipping.
I saw it.
You saw that. Okay. Second question. I've been running last year, Sharon and the other girl did the bake sale for the Memorial Day. I would like to see if I can leave some flyers for town meeting so people are aware of the bake sale for the Memorial Day. I just thought it was a good suggestion and I'll get it into people's hands. So
Sounds like a great idea.
that's what I was thinking. On my mind's always thinking. But that's all I have.
Okay.
Thank you.
Yep.
Can we make sure Public Works is aware of that sign?
Yeah.
All right, thanks.
Do I have to stand up? Can I say something?
Oh yeah, I'm sorry. Anybody else? My bad.
No, that's okay. I have to stand up. Okay. So I come from city and county-based policing, and I know that the St. Albans contract is expiring. You guys are looking at a contract with the sheriff's office. They have said contracted for X number of hours per week or month. Are those hours done per call, or do they patrol the area?
I believe it's patrol the area. Patrol.
Okay.
Yeah, it's a patrol.
So if they patrol through their 40 hours per week, what happens when there's a call outside of those hours?
If they're not on patrol here, they're probably policing somewhere else, another town. That's VSP takes over.
Okay. Is there a fee to the town when the state police have to respond?
I don't think so.
I don't believe so.
Because it's a state. That's a state.
Just want to make sure. I didn't know.
It's a state expenditure. It's a benefit statewide.
Is the expectation that the patrol occurred during certain hours of the day via like night hours when we expect the most issues versus
Exactly.
daytime? Okay.
Whenever there's the most issues is when we ask them to work. And sometimes if we get intel, something's going to happen, like if we have an event, we might need them, then we'll make sure they schedule themselves to be available.
Is
For that.
there any contingent, does the contract work where if they cannot fulfill their full hours for the week, that we're rebated or credited in some way?
Yes, we're billed as a per hour basis up to the 40 hours of the contract.
So we're only billed for what
What they
Correct.
What they actually do.
Is there an expectation if they're unable to fulfill their end of the contract?
One more time?
So like if we're hiring them for 40 hours a week
Yeah.
and they consistently are unable to patrol those full 40 hours, is there some type of reimbursement, right? Because that's what we're hiring them for.
But
Not
they're
even
billed by the
necessarily
hour,
a reimbursement, but like an like if they're continually at 20 instead of
Right.
40.
Like
not
I'm
even the
expecting you to
reimbursement,
show up
but-
for work 40 hours a week. If you're only showing up 20 or 30, you know,
They only get paid for 20 or 30.
right, but that's not what we're hiring them.
So your question is like, do we get reimbursed or does it roll over to the next week? They've got to work the extra 10 hours they didn't work this past week, or?
Like, do we put pressure on them or
Right.
look somewhere else? If we hired them for 40 hours and we're consistently getting half of that or 3/4 of that, I don't know if that's true or not.
Like the St. Albans police couldn't show up for walk to school day, which occurs first thing in the morning, which is not a holiday. So yes, we pay them per hours, but what incentive do they have to actually meet that obligation?
The only incentive is to get paid for 40 hours. That's the only incentive they have.
Thank you.
So is it a contract, so many hours?
Contracted up to 40 hours, yes.
Okay, so if they don't fulfill their contract, it's
Reach contract.
breach of contract. Where's, push comes to shove?
Is that contract done with St. Albans?
contract that we're talking about now,
Is it still in force or are they done?
the new contract would be the sheriff's department.
Starting July 1?
July.
Yeah,
July 1.
July 30th, St.
Oh, so
Albans
it's
City
not
is,
rolling out.
They're patrolling very little, I believe, right now.
they're,
I
they're,
don't see them go by quite frequently, but
They're
it's
not.
been a long time.
yeah.
Yes, sir.
How's it going?
Good.
When I was researching inroads for the constable position and making that a full-time position here, I managed to get in contact with somebody who would sponsor me through the police academy. And then, well, the town would sponsor me. He would get me in the police academy and also sponsor me for the ride-alongs necessary. He recommended, and this can be a sidebar conversation later, but he recommended starting our own police department in Highgate. There are a lot of federal grants to do so. And you know, that he said that would be the easiest way to fill our policing needs. That is something I'm willing to pursue. We now have a contract with the Sheriff's Department for 3 years. That gives me plenty of time to work out the logistics, present a plan to you, right? And go through the police academy and get fully certified up to level 3. If that is something that you and the town would be interested in. That would also allow me to hire another police officer. So we would have more than one man coverage in the town. So if you want to discuss later, kind of, I know you're worried about liability issues and things like that. I can work on getting more information about what would be, you know, necessary, but I have inroads to make that happen if that's something the town wants to have happen.
I got no issue if you want. I mean, personally, yeah, I'd love to have our own police force. When we kind of looked at it a little bit, the initial startup costs were way more than Highgate, I think, can afford. It's kind of the same thing right now with what they're doing at Swanton, sticker shock.
Yeah.
And it's a matter of doing your homework. Like I said, getting the startup grants to be less of a burden on the taxpayers is going to be a huge sell. We're trying to get our own PD,
Exactly.
and that takes time. So, yeah, I'd love to talk to you about it.
Okay, great.
And thank you very much for looking up
Yep.
that information.
Yep.
Anybody else?
Okay, so we have a guest tonight, Cindy Reed from Cathedral Square, which is our partner for senior housing. And she's agreed to come, and her husband has tagged along, so that's good too. To speak about what Cathedral Square is offering, what type of housing they do, what the rents would be. So I'll let Cindy give you a little overview of that, and I bet she would answer any of your questions.
Sure, and most everyone has heard this, so do you want me to give a quick overview for the folks that haven't, and then just have questions? So basically, Sharon contacted us in November. Things have been moving really quickly since then. Oh, sure,
So
yeah,
that just,
okay, that's great. But I'm not a slut. So Sharon contacted us about the town's interest in senior housing in the village center as part of the revitalization. And so we met and had a great conversation about all the great work that the town's done on looking at water and wastewater disposal system to benefit a plan to densely develop that village center with the library and senior housing and commercial space. So it really appealed to us because that's the kind of work that we do, and we know that Vermont's an aging state and Highgate's an aging community, just like most of the state of Vermont. And we're interested in having options so that your older adults can remain in the community as they get older and maybe can't afford their home anymore, or it's house burdened, and so that there's safe, affordable places to remain in Highgate with some services. And we are talking about independent living with SASH services, not licensed care or assisted living. And our program SASH is support and services at home. And it's a wonderful program that we created about 11 years ago. And we now offer it through many partners around the state. We serve 5,000 people at 140 different housing communities. And it's an evidence-based care coordination program with wonderful wellness programs on site like Tai Chi, chair yoga. Those are just some examples. It's really tailored though to that community, to each community, with a part-time wellness nurse, very part-time wellness nurse, and a part-time SASH coordinator to help people age in place. So we've made a lot of progress since November. We've just completed schematic design. We're submitting funding applications already, and basically the reason is the funding is all really competitive, so sometimes we have to go in multiple times for the same source. We get beaten up once and we go back, and so part of the strategy is just get in early. So let's see, we have an option agreement signed for the land for the 100,000 that's referenced in this Q&A that people have been, I think, hopefully reading. We're talking about 30 affordable housing units, mixed income, accessible. We're sort of looking at an L-shaped building, which really minimizes the setback requirements, just to try to fit in the master plan so that we're not taking up too much of that space. Under building parking and some surface parking, and we did hire Gossens Bachman, GBA, which is who the town's been using for the master planning. So that's been really good. And I feel like we should just open it up, because I think most of you have heard this spiel, and hopefully it's the same as the last time I gave it. But are there any questions or concerns or things you're hearing in the community that?
I got one question. Electric cars, would you let them park underneath in the building?
We are going to install electric vehicle chargers, but we're going to have them on the surface, not in the garage.
Because I know some garages will not let electric cars in, because when they burn,
Yeah.
they burn hot.
Yeah. So we got a state grant a couple of years ago to install EV chargers in a number of our communities, and they were all service parking, but one was a garage. We're not going to do more garage EV chargers because of a potential concern about battery combustion. And our facilities manager spent years as a firefighter, so we're really very attuned to that. So we will have exterior surface parking chargers. And I can't answer the question. I'm assuming we're going to let EV chargers, electric vehicles park in the covered parking under the building, but we won't have the chargers there.
How do you monitor those at your other facilities to ensure other community members don't take advantage of them?
You mean uninvited guests?
EV chargers.
Oh, the chargers.
Yes, thank you.
Oh, sorry.
Right, because if your building's going to be in the town square,
Oh, right, yep.
what's to stop someone who's, actually going to DeSorcy's
Yes.
from utilizing a charger?
Yeah, that's a good question. So at a couple of our communities, we did install public chargers, but here it would most likely be private charger because, and we just don't put it on the, you can assign, we've done charge point, and I don't know a lot about the EV charger thing, but like in the cloud, you don't list it as a public. It's
There's one
listed as a private.
there's one in the parking lot, parking room.
That's a public?
Yes.
Yeah, so hopefully that would, the community can use that. It's gonna be limited parking, so we're not planning to have a public charger. Does that answer your question?
Kind of, but it sounds like there's, it's not going to be listed, so I wouldn't know to go to it.
Yeah.
But if I know it's there from being in town,
Right.
it's not like it's a gated parking.
Right, it's not gated. We will likely have signage for the resident parking because parking's gonna be tight on this overall site.
Mhm.
So we will likely have parking signs for our resident staff and visitors so that they're not parking in the public spaces.
Right.
Just to keep clear delineation.
Okay.
And so when there's an EV charger, it would have a, senior housing spot
Right.
sign, but then it's, people are gonna do what they do, right?
Right.
So that's how we would approach that.
Sure.
And hopefully other people will just use that to discourage somebody from just coming and doing it.
Right. And maybe the library, maybe the commercial, maybe there'll be a public EV charger space within that master plan, we don't know yet.
type of building are you gonna build? Is it wood structure or?
It's wood frame, and it's 3-story. So the first level is underbuilding parking. It's not below grade, it's at grade underbuilding parking. We think it's 21 or 22 spaces. And then on the lower level, there's also, or first level, there's also some commercial space. Commercial meaning community space, community room, the vestibule, lobby. And then the first floor above grade, so I'll call it the second floor, will be 15 apartments, and the third floor, 15 apartments. That's what our design is. And we're planning 26 one-bedroom and 4 two-bedroom apartments.
2 elevators.
2 elevators, right.
What other amenities do
Nice,
you
right.
offer?
So, and the reason 2 elevators is because it's more than 2 stories. If one is down, we've got to make sure we have accessibility. We'll have a big community room with a community kitchen for use by the residents. We put in here when we drafted this, the community room, it's going to be pretty big. I think it's 700 square feet. Priority is for the residents to live there. But above that, we could open it up for town use, because I know that the town is needing more community space. We'll also have a lounge. We like to have a lounge near the front door, so people, if they're waiting for a ride or a visitor, they have good visibility. We'll have a SASH coordinator and property manager office right when you walk in, because we like to have eyes and ears right near the entrance. We'll have a wellness nurse office that doubles as a telehealth room. So telehealth or telemedicine, we feel is really important, especially for this community where there's a lack of primary care, healthcare. So that will be there for residents. We'll have on-site laundry, and laundry is included in the rent, so there's no quarters, so it feels like home. There'll be a gym, which will have probably 2 pieces of exercise equipment that's age appropriate, and an activity room.
Pet friendly.
Pet friendly. Secure building. See, you guys are all. So you need the code to get in, keep people safe and secure. Custodial space.
Could they have that charger on a card system too?
Yeah, the charger is not included in rent. Like if you're
No, but I mean,
EV
he was
charger.
mentioning if somebody wasn't in the facility and was trying to use it, but if somebody in the facility, if it was a
Yeah.
card system, then they couldn't use it.
Yeah.
Oh.
So the same card that you would use to swipe into the building.
We actually don't have a key card system. We haven't been able to afford it. We just have the keys. We're
Okay.
still on keys.
Well,
But with our EV chargers, you pay with a credit card or on your phone. It's
Okay.
not necessarily by phone, because some people don't have a phone, but, so,
okay.
so that's how we do the EV charger. And there'll be garden planters for residents and a little courtyard. We're thinking between senior housing and the library, so a nice kind of activity space there.
Where will it be entering? Where will it be entering and exiting? What street will it be on? Main Street or will it be on
Yeah,
Road?
so there's gonna be a 2-way road in from St. Armand Street,
Yeah.
sorry. That's gonna be a 2-lane. This is what we're proposing. It hasn't been through permitting yet. And then a 1-way egress out onto Gore Road.
When the committee has looked at this in the charrettes that we have done, we have heard and know from living here that we don't want to be sending a lot of traffic out onto St. Armand Road that's then going to want to come to 78 and try and turn off there because it's so awful. So we want to try and be able to send people out onto the Gore Road side to exit to 78. There will be 2-way traffic going in and out of the property onto St. Armand, but that way, if somebody wants to leave and go to the post office or whatever, go anywhere farther down St. Armand Road,
We put
They
like a right turn only.
right, they can go out of there and take a right turn.
Because that would be a mess with older people trying to get around Joe's store. People come from Swan.
With anybody, I mean, that,
Yep. Well, that's
yeah,
and
that's,
plus your aged people. I'm
Yeah.
aged people. I'm just looking out for the future.
Yeah, good.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think
We're trying to avoid, per what you just said,
Yeah.
going right into 78,
Really?
because that doesn't feel safe. And the tree, the tree grove that people feel protective of it has a certain amount of space, so that's why it's a one-way egress out, to try to
Onto
preserve
the
that.
Gore Road.
Onto
Yeah.
Gore Road.
Yeah.
Sorry.
Because they don't want to cut down all those nice maples by the
Right.
road.
Can't
So
take
that-
it
that's
with
the
them.
current
Yeah,
plan.
they'll take that in.
Huh?
They don't have to worry about it, they'll take them out anyway.
No, they won't.
No,
Right.
Not on my watch.
No, we already discussed that. Those maples will be staying.
There used to be 4 maple trees the other side of the 4 corners on the Highgate Road too, remember those? They took out about 102, 103 miles an hour down through there with cars in them.
Landline or lifeline?
Do they have landline telephones in them, or is that outdated?
Landline. I should know this.
That's a great question.
This is a landline question. I know we need a landline for the elevator and the fire panel.
Cell phones are, not everybody uses.
I know it, so I don't know the answer to that question, but I
Comcast has a
should know.
landline.
Sorry, what?
There is landline.
She doesn't know if they're gonna be in the rooms. though.
Right.
Oh,
I would think we
okay.
would, but I don't want to say yes because
Yeah.
I'm not entirely
Right.
positive, and I should know that. so.
Yeah.
Cell service is horrible in town, as I'm
Yeah.
sure we know
So
already.
they can get those buttons that they follow, they just push the button on
The
the
lifelines.
lifeline thing.
You
They
need
can-
cell signal for
I'll
that.
look into landlines, yeah,
This is my suggestion.
is to have it,
I don't know.
right, because of the lack of cell
Some
service.
people want landline.
Right.
That, and when you're listening and talking, get up, oh, wait a minute. So I lost that conversation,
Yeah.
and whoever it was crashed into a tree anyway.
So how many of these facilities have you built?
Well, we've been around since 1977, and we currently have 27 housing communities, totaling 1,009 apartments in Chittenden, Franklin, Grand Isle counties. So we have a lot of experience. Most people you meet either know someone who's lived in one of our communities, or it's pretty common. So yeah, we have a good reputation, and our communities range from 15 apartments, 10 is our smallest, I think, to 108 is our biggest.
How large is the one in South Hero?
Grand Isle,
How what? How
South
big?
Hero.
this is South East.
How many units is that?
30.
That's a 30?
Yeah, 30.
Almost similar?
Yeah, it's very similar.
Very similar?
Yep.
Okay.
The other thing that we didn't mention about this one is that it will be for ages 55
Yeah.
and up,
Right, correct.
at different income
Mhm,
levels.
At different income levels. And the one in South Hero, it is really similar. And at first we thought, well, that seems big for that town, but there's already a wait list of over 100 people. And 30 is a good number for our operations, to spread costs, so
Is the one in St. Albans gonna be that size too?
33.
Pretty close.
Is there a waiting list in St. Albans?
No, there was an article recently that had some errors in it. We have what we call an inquiry list. So if people express interest, they can put their name on it. So in St. Albans, I think we have like 45 people on an inquiry list. And then we started an inquiry list for Highgate. I'm not sure if there's anyone on it yet. I haven't.
There are, yes.
There are, okay, I haven't checked it, but just so that when people, they call our front office and someone puts their name
Because I'm the
down.
one that brought the question up, because I had a lot of senior citizens ask me about it a couple
Oh,
of
good,
times.
okay,
So that's why I wanted to get the name and get them on the list.
great. And I think.
Yeah, I think that information, Cindy has given us a phone number,
Correct.
to be able to access that inquiry line.
Right, and then what we'll do is, when we get close to completion, when we're like 6 months from opening the building,
Yep.
we'll contact everyone on that list, we'll have a community meeting, and also put an ad in the paper, and put flyers up here probably, and just to get as many local folks as we can, and then we go over the floor plans, and the rents, and the amenities, and all that stuff, how you qualify, the application process. So that's how we really do local outreach.
Will a Highgate person have priority?
No.
Okay.
They can't.
First come, first served.
Yeah, it's first come, first served, but we do this whole intense, local marketing outreach effort so that we best serve local residents as
Just
best as we
asking
can.
how it's gonna be set up.
Yeah, and in South Hero, they had the same question, because every local place usually do, like they want local people served, and over half the residents at Bayview Crossing in South Hero were local.
But you can't give preference because of
Fair
your
housing.
federal funding
Yes.
and the laws regarding that. So it's not that you're choosing not to, you
Correct.
can't.
It's also very difficult to administer, but yes, for fair housing reasons, it's for shelters are within eligibility.
If somebody has their name on the list and you call them and they say, I'm not ready, let's say there's 100, do they go to the end of the list?
I think they do.
Okay, just
Yeah.
asking how it's
Yeah,
set up. Makes sense.
yeah, there are certain rules around the wait list, and I believe that's what happens.
So they're not off the list, they just get pushed
That's
back.
my
pushed back.
understanding,
Yeah.
yeah.
So Cindy, can you explain what you mean by mixed income?
Yes, yep. So we're gonna have likely three different types of rents. We're gonna try to get some project-based rental assistance. Some people call that Section 8, it's got different names. It's very competitive and it's hard to get that resource, but I'd like to have some because some people just cannot afford even the most affordable rent. So maybe we'll get 6 of those, it's hard to tell. Right now, there's no commitment. So then we'll have what's called tax credit rents. Tax credits have nothing to do with property taxes, it's just a federal program that helps provide capital to build this building. But we deliver below market rents. And then we'll have close to market rents. So of the 30 apartments, we hope to have 5 that can serve extremely low income folks that have some help with rental assistance. 9, I can't do that. 21,
Well, it's gotta be 21 of those.
21, there you go. It's time of day, I
Single
lose my math
ones.
skills. 21 that are called tax credit rents, they're below market. And then for 6, that would be up to 80% of median income. So they're not true market rents, they're gonna be somewhat below market, and there is a cap on who we can serve because they're funded by the Vermont Housing and Conservation Board, and their cap is 80% of median. Those median incomes are pretty high, so we expect there to be a nice range of income served at that property.
So people get nervous when you say Section 8.
Yeah.
Yeah.
The thing to remember is we're an agricultural community, and there are a lot of older farmers who may not have put in as much money to Social Security as they should have or could have, which makes their income, if they're living off only Social Security, extremely low and eligible for that. So it doesn't necessarily mean have that negative association. For us, it could be somebody that just worked hard all their life and just
Yeah.
didn't have money to put away, which happens quite frequently.
Yeah, they were self-employed.
Yeah.
Limited benefit, limited retirement. And honestly, we like these mixed income communities because you can't tell one apartment from another. It's like just the town, you know?
All the
One
same
neighbor, sorry? One neighbor has low income, one has more resource, one goes on vacation, one doesn't, you know, it's like, but it's a microcosm. So, so yeah, I hope people don't get afraid when they hear that word. We're gonna have leases, there's house rules, you know, we're gonna manage the property well. There's clear expectations of what people are responsible to do, and we'll keep up the property. So it's basically a tool to help the lowest income people pay the rent, and we don't even know if we can get it. We have 6 at South Hero, we have 6 subsidies, and I think there's a couple tenant vouchers that came, so it just helps us serve a broader range.
And Cathedral Square is the gold standard for senior care in Vermont. They have the only memory care facility, which is pretty impressive and really is a terrible need. They have clean, well-maintained, well-managed buildings. This is not a company that comes in, throws up a building and walks away from it and takes your money. That's not the way this operates. These people are invested with their residents, they're invested with the town. I could not ask for a better person than Cindy. Cindy has been unbelievable in her enthusiasm, in her assistance. I'm very excited that this partnership has grown. If we're gonna go into partnership with someone, we want somebody we can trust. And this is the group to trust.
And they keep ownership of the building.
Yes.
As long as that building stands there, they got ownership of it.
And they pay taxes to the town because they're running the
Yes.
business.
Yes.
And just one quick thank you so much, Sharon. It's the only affordable memory care.
Yes,
There's
sorry.
other memory cares in the
Sorry.
state, but they're so expensive,
Yeah.
like, I don't know who can live there. So we have one affordable one, it's in Williston, and it's very lovely. And one thing just to kind of underscore what you're saying, is that we develop, we own, and we manage what we build. So we have our own maintenance team, our own finance team, our custodial staff, and it's really like a family kind of company. So people take a lot of pride in taking care of the buildings, take care of the people. It's not like we contract out, the maintenance of it.
But the townspeople have to remember one thing. In entertaining this idea, this proposal, if we don't put our wastewater system in, it's dead in the water.
Yeah.
Bottom line. I've said it more than once, people are sick and tired of hearing it. I'm sorry. If you don't have your wastewater system, you're dreaming at the wrong end of the pipe.
Yeah, but the biggest problem with that is if it's in your backyard.
Depends on what you're talking about. Everybody has a septic system in their backyard.
Right, but it's not pushing 20 to 30,000 gallons potential a year. And it doesn't affect your water well, but it does others. There's other people who have rights to that lot with water rights that aren't being addressed.
There are no water rights attached to that property that the town bought.
So
I've been through the deeds.
Who is that attached to?
Your water is attached to your mother's property.
No, I'm talking about my mother's.
There's no water rights to that property.
Harvey Boudreau, when documents back in 1968, Harvey Boudreau gave water rights to Carlton Cooper, which is the first place by the church at that time, Robert Graham, which is the next house up, and my parents. They all three of them got water rights to that property. Because I've been down over that hill in January changing a pump out.
Yeah. Apparently, nobody recorded it in the deeds.
Now, I'll see if I can get my parents' deed.
Yeah, we can look up your deed right online. But yeah, because I had checked yours to see when you
Oh, I
had
know mine is.
when you had
Yours is too.
when you had mentioned it before, just to make sure that I didn't miss something in the water rights. And the elevation too of your property to the elevation of where the system going in is probably what, 12, 15 feet?
On your 18 acres, where is it going?
It's gonna go more toward Laramie Circle.
Not sure what that is.
So that's the next road past the pit road.
So it's gonna go up on the upper end of the cemetery, but more towards the rear? More towards the riverside?
Not necessarily more toward the river, but more toward down Lampkin Street.
Because I know when you guys were out there looking, you were looking right dead behind my parents' house, right in that corner, and that's where there's a brook over there.
Yes, yes. Act 250 is not gonna let the town develop next to that ravine or next to that brook.
Will it be in test water? I don't want to, at the risk of saying wells, I don't mean wells, but like something's down, say 10, 12 feet in the ground, and they can monitor the amount of exterior fluids around your well. So in other words, if you got, say 18 acres, you're putting it on 17 acres, you have test wells around the outside. If any of those test wells start showing up with contaminated fluids in them, that'd be a warning to you. Is there anything gonna be like that done on this site?
I don't know, I haven't seen anything like that, but the final designs are not finished. I know that they're going to do some more testing on that property this month. And they're gonna put in some more monitoring wells. And they're gonna check and make sure what the high water mark is what the high groundwater is during the spring. And that's part of what they're waiting for to finish the designs, because they don't want to affect that either.
Yeah, see, to be honest with you, this senior center sounds fine to me. I have no problem with it. And if the taxpayers want to spend $4 million to do whatever they gotta do to get it ready to go, I have no problem with it. I see one of the inserts saying that the town is not gonna supply water only to the core. So in other words, by saying that, if you do contaminate our wells out there, we won't get any water. You're getting the lipstick end of the pig, and I'm sorry, but we're not.
The state's never going to allow a wastewater system that would contaminate anybody's well. They just wouldn't allow it. They wouldn't allow the engineer to design it. They wouldn't allow us to put it in place. They're very particular about water. I mean, severely paranoid about the quality of water.
Sharon, would you explain the number of feet from a well that leach line can be in? Do you have those numbers?
Well, I don't have the numbers right off, but I can tell you, I have a picture.
I've got some ideas. A leach line, if it's running downhill from a well, it's gonna be 150 feet away from the well. If the leach line's uphill, running toward the well, it's gonna be 200 feet from the well.
If you install it.
Or you can't install it.
Was it federal rules?
Those are federal rules.
But see, the thing is nobody's ever mentioned where exactly it was going that I ever heard.
And the thing is, all the water that runs from, they don't run toward your property, it runs toward the river. So everything's running away from your property.
I know when Morris Paquette's tank started leaking, they said that the water ran from Morris Paquette's this way.
Well, over in that area, they all run
Towards the river?
Toward the river.
And one of the reasons why, Mr. Weatherby, that you haven't heard is because they're not done testing the soil.
No,
We don't know exactly where they can
Right,
put
but
it.
you want us to bid on it and say yes or no, and we don't have all the answers. We don't know anything about the test wells. See, like I said, you don't want to make yourself out to be the bad guy here, but I'm not looking out for anybody else in this room. I'm sorry. I don't want to hurt your feelings, but when I go to sell my house, and I'm 65 today, if I go to sell my house in 5 years and I want to move on, how's that going to affect my ability to sell that house? Is it going to diminish? As far as I know, you haven't done any impact studies at all on any of that.
Should increase it because you don't have 52 houses in that lot behind you.
Yeah.
No, but if I did have 52 houses in that house behind my house, they would want my spot because I'm closer to the road, and it'd make the market value higher on mine because they don't want to live in the back.
But you have more septic system. You have more septic system on less property.
Less amount of fluid.
You still have
30,000 gallons?
You put 17. You put 17 houses in there. You're gonna have more.
What's the average household put out in a day?
450.
Okay, so you'd have to amplify that quite a bit to get to 30,000.
So what
That's more than
this
17 houses.
what this shows is the protection area around wells, which shows why we couldn't put
The septic on that.
right on this property here because there's too many intersecting circles. So these are the updated rules that the state has, and you can already see there are too many intersecting circles already. So those systems don't even meet the standards that there is today.
And we have to follow why we can't do this here is because
Right.
of that. We have to follow that same regulation down on the right property.
So is the plan
Protect
for
the wells
this
that are there.
wastewater, can anybody else hook onto it, or is it just gonna be for the complex?
Well, like Jimmy, say the pipe could be running by his house. If he has a failed system, he can hook into it for a fee plus a monthly charge.
No,
Only if there's enough room to do it.
no. It doesn't have to be a failed system.
Or it don't have to. But
You
if
could just say, I would like to hook into it. There will be a fee to do that.
Yes.
And yes, there will
Be
have to be room, obviously.
anybody
to
in
do
those
that. But
where
the-
we're running.
So originally, the 6500 system that we originally started with would allow those on St. Armand Road, and then the Village Core property, cross the road or down Lampkin, go through the right of way that the town has,
Where's that?
which would go right here.
Right to the church.
Is it right by the driveway up to the Pike's Pit?
No, is between your place
Yeah,
and.
the driveway's right in here.
In between your place and your neighbor there, what's her name?
Anessa?
Yeah. Yeah,
You ever been up there and measured that? It's 25 feet from her house to the fence line.
there's a right away through.
No, the Roger Wright built a house on there. Not unless you go underground. She gonna be happy if you dig it up her lawn.
Underground.
She doesn't own it, the town does.
Good luck with that one. Just let me know the day you do it, because I want to sit on the front porch with popcorn, because that's gonna be a sight.
So, as we look at further developing out, then it would Gore Road, 78, more down Lampkin Street. Just depends on a lot of things, but mostly funding.
And it's always gonna be your choice, right?
Right,
Nobody's gonna
right.
be forced to use.
No,
No, nobody's gonna be forced to use it, it's gonna be up to homeowners if they wanna hook onto it.
Originally, we were looking at doing this in a phased approach and starting with that 65 or 7,500 size. But when we brought it to the town and kind of became public for the first time, there was so much interest in people wanting to hook on that it was already maxed out, but I mean, before it's even gone to final design. So the thought of the board has been to see, since there is so much federal funding available right now, to see if we can get grant money to cover that largest size that we were looking at. We were looking at like a 3-phased approach to doing this, but because the interest has been so high, and if we can get the grant money that's available, we would like to just go right to that largest design now, if we can do that at a minimal.
So what happens 10 years down the road if you decide that it's too small and you need to put in a wastewater treatment plant? All your pipes are there.
I guess I'm one of the youngest ones on the board, I guess, so
No,
I feel like I think that that's way more than 10 years away.
That'd be way more than 10 years, if you wanna do a wastewater treatment plant, it's gonna be in the millions. Probably high millions.
The initial cost and the maintenance cost of a wastewater treatment facility is, I mean, it was never really even a question that it was something that we looked at, because it's not what Highgate needs, and it's not what Highgate can afford.
Then whoever hooks onto it pays their monthly fees, there go to us, money goes to the side for the upkeep on the system.
So I can see where it works out for the village core, but I can't see where it's working out so great for the people who live on Lampkin Street.
Sharon, would you explain to everyone where the money is coming from, the $4 million? It's not-
so right
it's
now,
not being taxed.
yeah. So, right now, we have a state ARPA grant for $1,457,719. We also have a commitment from the Clean Water State Revolving Fund for $2,550,000. We also are applying for a USDA grant for additional funds, because in the event we have contingency costs, it's more than what we expected, we'd have the funds immediately available to pay that. But it's our hope, that we could get this fully funded, and we may be able to, according to the state ARPA fund. This morning when I was on a call, she assured me that there are additional ARPA funds out there, because there will be towns and villages that are unable to meet the deadlines. So there will be additional funds available for Highgate. So as long as we meet our commitments, there's more funding there as well.
Can you talk about the deadlines?
There are bazillions of deadlines. We have several things going on at once. So one of the conditions of selling to Cathedral Square is that the Macy property had minor Brownsfield contamination. So they have contamination of lead, arsenic, and PFAs, PHAs, can't remember now. But it's related to ash and would be similar to what you'd find in a fire pit. So this year, DEC has changed the ruling of lead. So instead of being 400 parts per whatever, now it's 111. So there are some areas that we need to look at. Most of the abatement or the cleanup would be removing 6 inches of topsoil off the property. But there is 2 spots that need further investigation, and that investigation is going to be funded by the Northwest Regional Planning as of this morning. So they'll cover that and make sure that we're good and that we have a CAP or a corrective action plan in place and we have the property cleaned up for further development. So that's one of those pieces. The other pieces, the wastewater, and there are the public vote at town meeting is one piece of that, to find out, you know, what support there is for this project and for Cathedral Square and senior housing. As it's mentioned, it's a team. One doesn't happen without the wastewater system. And that's just because it's better for their development to have water and wastewater available to them. So in order to make our commitment, we'd have to get that part in place.
But there are sunsets on the grants that you are working with for
Yes.
the wastewater, which are.
So ARPA, which was basically COVID money, those funds need to be committed by the end of this year. They have to be spent by the end of 2026. And that's a firm deadline. There is no overlap. You must be completed your projects. So we need to make sure that our engineers, our designers, our construction people, paving people, whatever we need to have in place, they need to be able to get in here, get it done, and get out before the end of 2026. Keeping in mind that there are a limited number of those folks out there, and there is a lot of towns trying to do the same thing, is use up that ARPA money prior to losing it. Because if you don't spend it, it has to go back to the federal government.
And it's actually taxpayers' money that they paid into the government over the years.
Absolutely.
They're getting it back.
At the last meeting, you made a really good comment about in 1974 building. Can you say that? Because it really helped perspective about an opportunity in a point of time.
Well, maybe my calendar's wrong, maybe it's 74, maybe it's 78, but the rink opened in 78, I believe. And that was built with EDA funds, Economic Development Act. And this building here was done, I think it was done probably a little later. The same act money funded this building and then funded the arena. And like I said, they've both been great assets to this town. There's a lot of money that's come through the arena over the years, a lot.
The other thing is Cathedral Square is going to pay for the property. So 1 plus or minus acres is going to be sold to Cathedral Square for $100,000. So that gives you.
On taxpayer approval.
Correct. Then they pay taxes. Now they pay taxes at a discounted rate, but just for comparison, I called the town of South Hero and asked them what Cathedral Square paid per year to the town of South Hero. It is over $47,000 worth of taxes. Our tax budget is $707,000. That's on the town meeting warning. 47,000 added to that means that all of us who live here would have less tax burden. We know expenses aren't going to go down. Paving's not going to go down. The price of vehicles isn't going to go down. The help's probably not going to take a pay cut. These things are going to go up in price. If we don't find a way to get in some more tax money that doesn't cost us, and by that I mean children. So the difference between senior housing is not going to bring children into the community. And I have nothing against children, love children, but they cost $20,000 a year to educate in our current system. So that's 30 units of housing that does not produce $20,000 a year bill. So that 47,000 could really help our tax rate. It doesn't probably seem like a lot versus 707, but I'll take any discount I can get.
The other thing it does is, I don't know how many people in Highgate would actually move into it. Let's suppose it was 10. Well, there's 10 homes that are being vacated by the people that are going to be moving in, so you've got housing is being relieved of some of the crunch that's taking place.
I also think that we have to have, I can understand concerns about your property, but I also think we have to have, I don't know if the word is faith, but the state is pretty stringent about, I have had many friends that were upset at how stringent the state is about water and how close it is and all the testing and stuff. So I think we have to have some faith in the state. I don't know how you feel about that, but that they are going to monitor this and make sure that it's done correctly. They're not going to let it be so it would damage the property or your sale.
Can I add that? I built a house 3.5 years ago. I'm mad at the state too. The overkill is amazing. I actually just tried to look at for you on the A&R website, wastewater stuff. I can't find it. The one document just on wastewater and how you're supposed to do it is 245 pages long. They've got algebra formulas in here I've never seen since, I don't know, senior in high school. I don't know how they calculate this stuff. But I have to agree with her. We're not going to build, and the state's not going to authorize anything that's going to be a detriment to your local well. They wouldn't allow it to happen, just like Sharon said.
Well,
I don't like all the rules, but they're there for a reason.
just for the leap of faith kind of thing,
Right.
the Highgate Arena, when it started, was supposed to be a moneymaker out of the gate. It never was. As far as this building goes, I don't know how many people know, but they had to knock the floor out in the fire station because the tankers are sinking through the floor. All I'm saying is don't always, throw all your money into the money pit and think that the engineer that designed it is, he's God and he has all the answers. Because I'm sorry, there's 2 flaws right there in that ointment.
So
When I said
A
there's a lot
building
of money that went through the arena, I didn't say they kept it, I said there's a lot of money.
I'm just saying, and the other thing that somebody put in is, East Highgate had a wastewater thing up there 100 years ago. I don't think you want to use that as a reference either, because the axe factory went out, the only store that they had went under, and the school that they had, they closed. So I don't think you want to use that as a reference, because that's not really a positive.
That wasn't wastewater, that was spring water.
That was supposedly a wastewater system that they had, was reported by the St. Albans Messenger. I don't know where the information came from, I'm just stating what they said.
So we have to consider time. So if this building was built in 1978, I would expect you have to have some maintenance in those years. Did they build it over a church foundation? Yes, they did. Can we do anything about that? Not a damn thing but fix it. which is what we did.
Yeah, there used to be a church
Yes. There was,
Yeah.
The church was converted into a fire station.
Yeah.
And then when they built this, they,
I knew there was one across the street, I didn't know there was.
Put all the rubble in the hole.
yeah.
That's
They're
what,
rotted.
that's what it was.
But see, now the engineer should have picked up on that.
I don't think there were any then.
right, in 1978.
1978?
The
Yeah.
characters in town, I bet there was very little
A lot of beer
consulting.
parties and some burning.
Yeah, what was working that day?
But, and like the system in East Highgate, that's also 100 years old. So we have to give it a little leeway in 100 years.
Didn't work then.
It worked fine then.
If they would, they'd still have the store and an ag factory and all the rest of it.
The store kept getting run over by tractor trailers, so I can understand why they put that under.
Yeah, there's still plenty of handles around.
So, what we'd like to do, and I had talked to Kyle about this before, is we'd like to have some people from the state come in about wastewater to answer your questions exactly, because I'm by no means a wastewater expert. None of the select board is either, but we can find people who, that's their job every day, who would be willing to come and speak with you and answer these questions that we might not be able to.
Another thing that might be, I was talking with Kyle, another thing that might not be a bad idea either is the residents that it's mostly gonna affect. Put a hand out to them and say, hey, look, we wanna take you out here and show you where we're looking at putting it. We wanna show you how big the area is, how far away it is from where you are. References. I mean, right now, like I said, I had no idea what you were talking about putting it. As far as I was concerned, it's going, it could go right down the bank, 25 feet from behind my house, and go right there because you own the land. And there's nothing I can do to stop it. And that's only, what, 100 feet away from my well?
No,
So,
be more than
so
100.
there's a lot of, oh, I know it's gotta be more than 100, but if you're dropping it down right behind my house on the bottom of that bank, it's a lot less than 100.
But even though you still would have to be more than 100 feet from your well.
You're correct, it would go a long way for us to go out
No
there
question.
with those adjoining landowners, and I think that we should do that.
Because I know you guys did a little tour group when you were looking at buying the property. And then when you were looking at it, you were looking at it over next to where we used to have our spring.
See, I just want you to know that what you're asking for is not unreasonable.
right.
I agree with you. If I had your property, I'd want the same thing. So please let us get the people that we should, that know. And I think it's a great idea to get the people in that neighborhood together and explain the whole thing.
I mean, the thing is you have no idea, And the last thing anybody wants to do that lives there is have their water contaminated. So,
And the last thing we want to do as a board or a town is contaminate your water.
We're not doing anything that's gonna screw anybody up on purpose, put it that way.
that's the key
Yeah,
right
on
there.
purpose.
If you're looking at it, if you're sitting on this side of the page and you're going like, we're not intentionally gonna do it, I have no doubt in my mind that you will not intentionally damage it. What if? What if something happens where your leach field leaks into the groundwater and contaminates my water? What recourse do I have? I got nothing.
You sue the town,
Yeah.
just like it would be if your neighbor did that.
If your neighbor's contaminated, you have to sue your neighbor.
But it sounds like getting people here, that's a great idea.
Or you could
With other people.
put some kind of a ruling in, so if you contaminate people's water in that area, we get drinking water. Because what they're saying is the water's not coming that way, just the waste. As far as I know, the water's staying inside the village core.
Yep.
At this point, yes.
So there should be some contingency.
Solid stays inside the village core, and just the water, the black water goes to.
Right, but what I'm saying is if you're gonna put the black water over there, there should be some kind of contingency plan, so if you contaminate the drinking water, that the people on that side of town get the drinking water.
I don't see why we can't ask the state what we can do. I mean, it's not gonna cost anything to ask, and do we put in some test wells just to keep an eye on it? I mean,
That would be a big plus right there.
That might be-
If you knew in advance that you were having a problem on your 18 acres and you shut it down, that'd be fine. But with no contingency plan at all, and you're just gonna throw that out there and go like, well, I'm sorry. No, that doesn't work for me.
I can share with you, when I worked at the school, every year they have to bring in the engineer and there's test wells that are done around it. And they have to check the contaminants in those wells every year to make sure that there isn't anything happening. So the system was designed at the school to be able to be monitored and make sure that it stays within that area.
Yep.
And you have to have what's known as a discharge permit. Now, they check on that permit every year. So that's why that those test wells are around, and that's why when it's designed, it has to be within that permit spec.
Yeah,
So that's why it's designed that way.
that all became of the leaking fuel tanks over here. That's why that all started out. There's one at the top of the hill out here by.
No, I'm talking about the school, I'm not
But
talking,
it's all in the
You're
area.
just saying
It's all the same
You're
thing.
just saying it's all generated from the same idea.
So,
Yeah,
but
so,
you
yeah,
have, you have to have a discharge permit, is what I'm saying.
so we probably have to have that same discharge.
Absolutely, you're gonna have to have a discharge
Being
permit.
a public system, so you're gonna have to have all
Have
those
to.
test things and
And monitors.
Has to be
monitors.
it's the
monitored.
first anybody's talking about it.
By an
though.
engineer.
They've never-
But,
Nobody's
you know,
ever mentioned it. It's
Since
been
he mentioned the
publicized.
school like that, so they probably, the state would probably make us put all
Requires
those
an
monitors.
engineer.
Right, but like you said, it's not done yet.
No,
And the people that live in that area want some kind of comfort
Yeah.
knowing what's going on.
It's not
and it's
engineered
gonna be
yet, so
secure.
that's why
Yeah,
we can't go
we
to
haven't
and
got
say
an
something we
engineer
don't know
stuff
yet.
yet.
That's what
and
it's.
if
Well,
it's
what
not,
he's saying is because it's a state law, because it's this and that and something else, if it wasn't brought up, it wouldn't have been done. If Orange Bucket's gas station over here had to leak contaminants into the ground, those test wells would have never been there because nobody was ever sent anything. So that's why I'm saying we should have test wells over there.
Of course, they're gonna make you have them, because your discharge permit will require you to have that. And you will be required to test them by an engineer every year for certain PFOAs and different other chemicals to make sure that you don't have anything going in there. And that system that's designed within that space that the town's gonna have has to conform to that.
Where's the tank gonna be?
What thing?
That's what they're doing the testing for this.
So it's gonna go over there too? So all solids
no,
gonna
no,
go there?
no.
See, that's what I'm asking.
No,
Where's the tank gonna be?
You know, just water.
This water.
Tank-
Where's-
the tank-
where's-
the
It's gotta
tank-
go somewhere on the property.
Yep,
The tank stays on the property owned by,
the solids will be
who's
there.
gonna be doing their, whoever owns the properties. gonna have their own
On
tank.
what property?
Meiji property.
Suppose the cathedral cell buys that property,
Yeah.
they have to have a tank. And then
Right.
they-
Only the gray water.
the gray water is the only thing that's.
Right, but that's for them.
Anybody
Right.
else will.
Well, whoever-
Or is that anybody else?
Anybody else
Is it-
say-
If you hook up to it, you gotta have a tank. This your gray water would be going.
It's not sewer, it's just,
This the gray water.
Right, but the solids have to go somewhere. So
It'll be-
what you're saying is you
Your
have to have
tank.
a tank at your house?
Yes.
And, okay.
Correct.
Yes.
now,
Even-
will they, before they start hooking this all up, will they be testing individuals' wells that are connected close to this situation? Like his well?
That would be a good idea. and
I
you can't complain if it's already contaminated.
Right, exactly. There would have to be some prior testing so that you didn't catch someone who
Makes sense.
had bad water to start with and didn't know
Eliminate the
it.
problem before it starts.
Absolutely.
For instance, the old landfill to this day is still monitored.
Yep.
It's been 25 years, we haven't used it, we capped it, and it's still monitored.
It has to be, yep.
It has to be.
Yep.
That's a stagnant landfill.
Yeah.
But they're monitoring for any leachate, anything leaking out of it. The same principle will be in the design of this wastewater system, not a septic system, wastewater. There's a difference.
Yeah, so I saw the liquid stuff that didn't get in the tank, which the liquid flows through the tank, which carries the
Your
stuff out
solids
the
drop
tank,
into the tank.
which means I'm getting the liquid part of what you're not getting the solid part.
Yes,
And
not
you
you, but.
If you don't maintain your tank, then there's a problem with the landowner, not us.
Okay. Are there any more questions about senior housing?
I'm getting older already.
Well, it'd be a sweet.
A suite? No, 30 apartments.
We'll put you on the roof as a suite. Okay.
They'll have a penthouse for you.
So I can tell you that Cindy's been to Highgate probably more than she ever thought she would in her life already. But she's been very gracious to come to these meetings and inform people. And I know that if someone had a question, we could call her up and ask that as well. So if something comes up and you think, oh, I should have asked her, let me know. Call Cathedral Square. Cindy will help you out. If she doesn't know the answer, I'm sure she can find it out. But like I said, this is an opportunity for Highgate. This is an awesome, like Clarence said, once in a lifetime opportunity. Yes, it comes with some pain. It comes with a wastewater system that people are nervous about. But we're going to try to provide as much facts and as much information as we can to you to help you feel more comfortable. Having said that, if there's no other questions, Cindy, husband, thank you very much for coming.
I do have one.
Yes.
Cindy, I mentioned last time, is there any chance you can get just some kind of basic blueprint of what you're proposing, what it's going to look like? A picture goes a long way for the building.
For what?
For the building that you're proposing to build here
Right.
on
And
the
if you want
website, or
Yeah, you want an updated master plan, because you want us to put some on our website.
yeah.
And we just barely finished schematic like today.
Okay.
So, if Sharon agrees, if the town agrees to have GBA update the master plan with the new
Yes.
footprint, we're happy to do that.
Awesome.
I didn't want to authorize that without,
Oh, yes.
the channel, so I can talk to Greg Gossens and ask him to put the new footprint, and then we can put it on our website and share it with you, and
Awesome.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Yes,
Thank you.
Brownsfield would like to see that
Thank
new schematic too.
and what?
Brownsfield had asked this morning for
Oh, good.
that schematic as
They're
well,
excited.
so
They're excited, yeah.
yes, yeah, they are very excited to get this property as a functioning property as well.
Great.
And once this gets all approved, and then the engineers will put up their plans, and then that's when people along that road, that area, then they could look at the plans, they'll know the actual footage.
Yeah.
Then that's when you could do a lot of corrections with an eraser, damn sight easier than you can with an excavator.
But that's after you already paid for it.
No, you have to pay for it.
No, you gotta do it by town meeting, right?
That's only to
commitment.
go to, we're looking for a vote that says, yes, the town would be willing to construct this project if we limit the amount of money that the town spends to $200,000.
So when we're working in the time frame that Sharon was talking about earlier and trying to look at the different sizes of systems to put down there, for them to be able to do this final design for us, they needed to monitor these test pits, wells, whatever you want to call them, that are down there over, I don't remember if it was over a whole year. They needed to be able to measure them over this spring that's not here yet.
Yes.
And so we had asked for them to go ahead and to start that process now, because if we waited for that until we asked at town meeting, it was going to put us like 6 or 9 months farther behind in the process. So yes, we are going forward at town meeting and asking for funds not to exceed a certain amount to move forward with this, but we are also waiting for this final design phase 2. Just because if at town meeting this passes doesn't mean that we just move forward willy-nilly and put whatever we want down there in total disregard to anybody who's an adjacent landowner. But that just because of the way that all of these steps had to happen in a certain order, that's why things are happening the way they are right now.
It might be a little easier selling point if you came up with $200,000 and the $4 million part is what scares most of the people off. They don't hear that part, they hear the.
That $4 million is already there in grants. The 200,000 is like the match, our portion of the match of it.
Right, but it's the $4 million, they don't hear the $200,000 pocket part.
But
They see the
they're-
$4 million
what
and they
they
know
wanna
that there's
do-
gonna be an 18 or 20% property tax coming up this year, along with $4 million, it scares the heck right out of them.
But the thing is-
So if you told them like $200,000, the rest is covered in grants, $200,000, it makes it sound, it's a lot more tolerable.
The way the article's written is based on our lawyer's suggestion. So we couldn't put it like that. But yes, we need to make sure people know, we're not asking for 4 million, we're asking for 200,000. 100,000 of that could come right from
Yeah.
selling the property to Cathedral Square.
Then the other 100,000 could come from another grant,
Right, right.
so it'll be no money.
I'm gonna try to get it fully funded.
Yeah.
I'd like it free to the town, and I'll do my damnedest to do that, but in the event,
100,000 in $4 million project, damn close to free.
Yeah.
What about, I know this is reaching down the road. With a 3-story building, what kind of a fire, what are we gonna do for the town of Highgate's fire department? Will our vehicles handle a 3-story building?
yes. Yes, and we have a mutual aid system particularly for that reason.
And being a building like that, you would have to have sprinklers.
It'll be fully sprinkled.
Yeah, well,
Yeah.
yeah.
With a water tank and a pump.
She's got $1 million ladder truck just down the road in Swan.
Yeah.
So, yeah, you were, because I asked that very question as well.
I'm just trying to, figure out all the
Yeah,
angles and
absolutely.
make sure that, and you got your EMS deal, and, I mean, you got a lot of avenues that,
I want you to know, Jim, we had a long talk the other night.
oh yeah, I know.
We agreed to disagree a lot,
Hey, you
okay?
know what?
But, this is what I was explaining to you, how important that these information meetings are, and it's sad that we don't get very much of a turnout. So even I think, I've seen you ease down a little bit, I've seen your shoulders drop a little bit, because now you're understanding a lot more about the project, because this is why we have these meetings, right? And you make excellent points, and if I was you, I'd be doing the same thing. So, everything's full disclosure, we're not trying to hide nothing, we're not trying to sneak nothing by, and I think it's important that people get involved.
You've made
And-
some really good points
Absolutely.
tonight, I think that we can follow up with
Yeah.
as
No
the
question.
court board, and I appreciate you being here and
But-
asking questions.
For me, the test wells is my biggest concern, because if you keep your crap in your area, I keep my crap in my area, we'll be great neighbors. But I don't want that contamination getting into my water system, and I'm pretty sure, I just wanna be on the front porch eating popcorn when Vanessa finds out they're putting it across her lawn. That is gonna be something to see.
It's not her property.
It's not her property. And always,
But you know,
you don't have to dig,
The
because
way
they
that-
can drill.
the way that was worded when Anessa and Roger got that whole thing going, Roger owned the top. And I said, you know what? This is gonna come back and bite somebody, because somebody somewhere is gonna get some idea of putting an underground thing. And you laughed at me. You said, well, that's never gonna happen in a million years. Who's gonna wanna dig underneath the top of the ground? Guess what? You're doing. Yeah.
Mr. Weather, we gotta move the meeting along. You've made an awesome lot of points. Can you do us a favor as a board, Sharon, and the DRB and the village court? Can you write down your stuff or email it and give it to Sharon so that we can get your points distributed to everybody so we can incorporate your thoughts?
I think I'm on camera.
You are, but
Get a bucket
You
of
said
popcorn,
why.
have a nice day.
if you could do that, that would help us out. Maybe like the top 15, you're probably at 30 points, top 15 that concern you that we could get you an answer to.
I think Kyle and I probably had about a 2.5 hour talk about it, and I'm pretty sure you've got an idea what's
All right.
going on.
So,
If you could do that, it'd go a long way for us, it'll help us out to help
And
you.
spreading the word perhaps.
Correct.
so I.
That is not 4 million, that we're asking.
So I can tell you that on February 12th at 9 o'clock in the morning, engineers, the Public Works Department and myself will be out there roping off the areas for monitoring wells and test pits. They will do that digging on the 26th and 27th of February. So you'll see some activity out there besides the normal rate stuff. And that's to do that testing for the next 3 months. Once he has that data and can put it into a plan where we can show you a picture, we can certainly ask you and your neighbors to come and take a look.
Sounds good.
Fair enough.
Thanks for watching, you know.
Oh, we know.
I got a front row seat.
And popcorn. With popcorn.
You got a popcorn machine?
I don't yet, but I'm gonna buy one when you tell him that, so that's gonna be a.
Go across.
Thank you very much. Does anybody else have any questions about the wastewater or village or the cathedral?
Yeah.
No? I got one.
Thank you so much for coming.
Actually, not so much.
Talk to you soon.
Thank you though.
Thank you.
There's a lot of stuff on that. Everything you can find is online, what do you do?
Got a question for the audience. Did anybody get one of these in the mail? Show of hands, how many got one? Yeah, a Christmas card. See, Town Highgate loves you, yeah. Okay. Anybody use a little, I can't remember what this is called on the back. You didn't? Oh, awesome. Yeah. And you had all the questions.
I got a 94-year-old mother that goes like, what the hell is this for?
I'm just curious, but yeah, this camera guy, this was put out in the mail. It answers almost all your wastewater questions. Just put your camera up to the little block right here, and there's a, I think it's a 6-page document that pops up. Q&A.
6 days.
6 page, what? 20 page, something like that. Thanks. All right, moving along. If nobody's got any questions, we're on to Shelley, who is absent tonight, and Wendy is taking over for that.
Yes, and I believe everything is right on the table for you. She left you a check warrant
Yep.
and a tax update.
Richard, would you like to join the board?
Oh, he's been back.
Oh, okay, I hope there was another one.
I was going to Jamaica.
I guess, yeah, Director Richard's here participating in it. I can't read the clock, 7 and 48.
Keep on going, because
All
I've
right.
already scheduled, I've already got your schedule, so if you just watch.
All right. Everybody got to see the minutes? Okay, can I have a motion to accept the minutes?
That's the warrant.
Warrant, check warrant.
Check warrants?
I can't read. It is check warrants, okay. Can I have a motion to accept the check warrants?
I'll make the motion.
I'll second.
All right. All those who say aye.
Aye.
All right, that's accepted. What else we got, Wendy?
She left you maybe a delinquent tax update up
Yep.
there, which is also in the town report. And it's all coded, who's set to go to tax sale, who's on a payment plan. So that's just an update, but they've been coming in quite steady for her, and as people file their income tax returns, that will continue to come in. And bring that balance down. I think that's all she had for you for this meeting.
Okay, so total outstanding delinquencies right now for taxes is $175,265.69. Anything else
Can I make
on?
a suggestion?
Yep.
And if this is in previous years, I think it should be last name first. Just my throw
For
it out.
the tax delinquency?
Huh?
When?
Yeah.
Yes.
Because sometimes there's more than one person that has the same first name.
So what was your suggestion, Richard,
Put your last name first.
in the town report?
Yes. So it doesn't get confused with like 2 Ronalds or 2 Roberts or.
2 Richards.
I've got enough. One's enough, right?
All right.
See, I'm getting a complex.
When you guys sign that warrant, just make sure it doesn't get lost, please, in the shuffle.
Yes, I'll do that. That's it for Shelley's portion, you're up next, Wendy.
Yes, sir. Okay, so you guys have 3 sets of minutes because that's all you've been doing is having meetings. You have your last regular meeting, which was an executive session followed by a regular meeting, an executive session on January 22nd, and an executive session on January 25th. I believe you've all seen all of them.
Not everybody's been here for all those, right?
The last regular meeting was Richard, Vern, Mary. You were all here for the 18th.
Okay. I make a motion to accept those minutes for the 18th.
I'll make a motion.
Okay.
Second?
All those decide? Aye.
The 22nd executive session, present at that one was, Scott was absent, the rest of you were there.
Yeah, and I make a motion to accept the minutes for the 22nd, please.
Second?
All those say aye? Aye.
I abstain.
Yep. And the 25th, Scott and Vern were absent, so it was Mary, Kyle, Richard.
I make the motion to accept those minutes.
Very good. Okay, I'll get those signed after the meeting. Okay, so dogs, that's going well. Everybody's coming in. Our clinic is going to be at the end of March, so we'll talk more about that in March. Town meeting. Books are out. Those came in yesterday. We had 500 books printed. They are at DeSorcy's, McEwen's, the town office, the library, the arena, and Martin's General Store. There's also a PDF on our Facebook page and on our website. If you want to have one mailed to you, just reach out to me and I can throw one in the mail to you. So there's no reason anybody that wants one can't get one or see one. Absentee ballots, I've had a lot of requests for those. I am waiting on our town ballots and the school ballots. Those were just ordered on Monday after the deadline to get your name on the ballot. So I hope to have my ballots, and if the school did what they were supposed to do, I should also have those next week, so I can start mailing out a long list of absentees that I have. This is also a presidential primary year. The one election every 4 years where you have to declare which ballot you want. People don't like it, it's not my rule. I don't care if you don't like the rule, you need to tell me which one you want so I can send it to you or give it to you. I don't care who you're voting for, I'm just giving you the ballot you asked for, I won't know who you vote for. People don't understand the law. I do have the statute printed out. I have had to give it to quite a few people. I think they think I'm making this stuff up. So, it is once every 4 years, and people forget. We've never done this before. Well, yes, we have, but it was 4 years ago. So, we'll just keep plugging along at that, just so people know when you come to the polls, don't harass my people. Please. Let's see, the appointed positions, the list is published. Letters of interest are due by February 29th. Those are for the DRB, Planning Commission, Village Corps, all the boards we have that are not elected.
Those would be when?
February 29th, and we will be appointing those positions the meeting after town meeting, which is March 7th. Let's see. Town meeting will be at school. Floor meeting starts at 9, not 10. We changed that in 2020 before COVID, then we were on the ballot for several years. So last year being our first year back on the floor, a lot of people showed up late. We start at 9 on the floor. The polls will be open from 7 to 7, also at the school. The JPs will be helping out at the floor meeting, and they'll also be coming back to help me after 7 p.m. with write-ins and 2 of the blessed individuals that get to bring all those school ballots down to Swanton to be commingled and tallied down there. I have assessor on my list, Sharon. Is that on your list? Because I can skip it.
I was going to have the select board read the articles.
Okay, we can go through that
Yeah.
later. So the only other thing I have are liquor related, so you have to exit and go into that board because I have some applications from the Sources Market.
Okay, let's go ahead and, can I get a motion to exit the regular select board meeting and go to, and what's it called, the liquor control board?
Yes.
Okay.
So,
Seconded.
Okay, and then into the liquor control.
And can I get a motion to go into the liquor control board?
Second.
Thank you.
Okay, so I have a second class license and a tobacco license, both for the Sources Market.
Make the motion to accept them.
Second.
Okay,
I'm normally not sitting here.
That's
Did we sign those? Do
No.
one of us sign those? No?
No.
Okay.
we used to, they
I
changed
thought
it.
we did, yeah.
Yes, so you just make a motion and then I put the motion into the system.
Okay.
Yeah. So we had a motion from Mary, seconded by Richard. And you,
Oh, all those who say aye.
okay, and that is it, if you wanna exit that.
Yeah, can make a motion to accept, or exit the liquor control board.
Make that, I'll second.
Aye, all ayes.
Aye.
It's very hard for me today.
You're doing a great job.
I'd like to make a motion to go back into regular select board meeting. Can I get a motion, please?
I'll make that motion.
Second.
All ayes?
Aye.
Back in.
Now we're up to Sharon.
we're back.
Okay,
All right.
one thing for me. The fire department is asking for the ability to pay $17,070 for 4 new sets of turnout gear, so for personal protective equipment. They have the budget for it, so I'm just looking for a motion to accept.
Make that motion.
I'll second.
All those who say aye?
Aye.
Okay.
Remember the good old days, $2,500 set of gear.
All right.
That's it?
Into town meeting.
Wow, okay. All right, so we're gonna do the information session here, and we're each gonna do our little part, read the articles, that kind of stuff, and all the fun numbers. I think Kyle's gonna kick this off.
Yep.
The legal voters of the town of Highgate, Vermont are hereby notified and warned to meet at the Highgate Elementary School Gymnasium in the town of Highgate on Tuesday, March 5th, 2024, between the hours of 7 o'clock in the forenoon, 7 a.m., at which time the polls will open, and 7 o'clock in the evening, 7 p.m., at which time the polls will close, to vote by Australian ballot upon the following articles of business. Article 1. To elect following town officers. 1 cemetery commissioner for a term of 5 years. That's A. B is 1 library trustee for the term of 1 year remaining on a 5-year term. C, 1 library trustee for a term of 5 years. D, 1 lister for a term of 1 year remaining on a 3-year term. E, 1 lister for a term of 2 years remaining on a 3-year term. F, 1 lister for a term of 3 years. G, 1 moderator for the ensuing year. H, 1 select board member for a term of 1 year remaining on a 2-year term. I, 1 select board member for a 1-year term remaining on a 3-year term. J, 1 select board member for a term of 2 years remaining on a 3-year term. And K, 1 select board member for a term of 3 years. Article 2. Shall the voters of the town of Highgate authorize cannabis retailers in the town of Highgate pursuant to 7 VSA 863. Article 3. Shall the voters of the town of Highgate authorize the elimination of the office of lister and replace it with professional qualified assessor appointed by the select board, who shall have the same powers, discharge the same duties, receive and discharge therefore in the same manner, and be subject to same liabilities as prescribed for listers or the board of listers under the provisions of Title 32.
So those are all on the ballot, Articles 1 through 3.
Any questions?
Oh, did we hear back about the quote for the Lister outsourcing? What was that?
We have a quote. The select board has not seen it yet, so since it's a contract, it's still executive session material.
Might that be disclosed at the next select board meeting?
It may.
Okay.
Yep. They get to approve it first, then we can tell the public.
Approve whether to outsource?
No, outsourcing is a town vote.
Okay,
So the Lister positions are still on the ballot,
right.
but we have no interest in them so far. So the select board has asked to put that question on the ballot of
Right.
whether we could get rid of those 3 positions and then just have an outsourced person. So we have had 1 response to an outside assessor. But since that's a contractual agreement, the select board gets to look at that before the public gets to see it.
Okay, I ask because if we're only paying we're only advertised Lister salary is $20 an hour, but the contracted rate is for $47 an hour. You know, I would want to increase potentially the salary opportunity before outsourcing for that substantially increased rate.
Right.
Makes sense.
Presently, your Lister cost is 36,000.
And that was for one person?
Two.
For 2 people?
But you have your development, meetings and travel expenses.
All wrapped in there. Thank you very much.
Good question.
Okay, stop. Okay, so I'm gonna read the following articles for town meeting, which is Article 4, to receive and act on the reports of the town officers for the past year. Article 5, shall the voters of the town of Highgate set the final date of payment for FYI, which is year 2024, year 2025 property taxes to be Thursday, October 31st, 2024, with payments to be received in the town office by 4 p.m. And Article 6, shall the voters of the town of Highgate vote all public questions and budgets by Australian ballot?
Now, that was tabled last year, so we were required to bring it back up again. So we shall. And see if we can actually make a decision.
Okay, Mary.
Article 7, shall the voters of the town of Highgate give approval for the village wastewater construction and authorize general fund expenditures up to $200,000 to be paid towards the total project cost of $4 million. Article 8, shall the voters of the town of Highgate give approval for the town to sell 1 ± acres of land from the village core property to Cathedral Square, a nonprofit corporation, for the express purpose of developing senior housing in the amount of $100,000. Article 9, shall the voters of the town of Highgate appropriate $5,000 to assist with the move-in expenses associated with the relocation of Franklin County Field Aid.
Any questions?
Yeah, I have one. Does Frank County feel like has a place to move to?
I don't think they do yet.
Part of a couple potential.
All right, moving on, Article 10. Shall the voters of the town of Highgate appropriate $585,000 to meet the expenses and liabilities of the capital improvement plan, otherwise known as CIP, with an estimated $485,000 to be raised by taxes? Article 11. Shall the voters of the town of Highgate appropriate $1,060,134 to meet the expenses and liabilities of the highway fund, with an estimated $899,134 to be raised by taxes? Article 12. Shall the voters of the town of Highgate appropriate $1,413,307 to meet the expenses and liabilities of the general fund, with an estimated $707,147 to be raised by taxes? And the final article, number 13, to transact any other business legally authorized to be transacted, considered proper and necessary when met. Any questions on those?
Okay, so we're gonna go into the CAP. For the town office parking lot, $0. For the Parks and Rec Department, they want to do 10,000 for Zamboni, 10,000 for the arena parking lot, 25,000 for the arena roof, 5,000 for a zero-turn mower, 10,000 for a dehumidifier, ooh, that was hard. 30,000 for a chiller and compressor, for a total of $90,000. The Highgate Public Library, $0. Oh, I'm sorry, I apologize, $50,000. $50,000.
The chiller, is it because it's ineffective anymore or lost its capabilities?
No, it's just a pre-plan for the future. They're expecting it to last 25 years.
Oh, okay.
They're
So
just
they-
trying to
I remember we put that in.
Yeah, there's nothing wrong with it. Scott?
Okay, if we're ready to go, I'm gonna read the CIP for the fire department, the public works, and in and around the town, and I'll be asking questions afterwards and answering the best that I can. So we're gonna start with the fire department. Proposed budget for FY 24-25. Now you're gonna have to help me out to make sure that I'm doing this correctly. It's $70,600.
That's not safety.
Okay, no.
Page 39, Scott.
Thank you.
There you
Gotcha.
go.
So, come back to
24-25.
right here. Okay, thank you very much. I appreciate this, guys.
No charge.
Yeah, we're asking for $130,000. And that's there's $15,000 for the replacement of engine number 1, $30,000 for fire engine number 2, and $75,000 for the replacement of the tanker from the 1998 truck, and $10,000 to replace the 2015 utility truck. That comes to the $130,000 for FY 24-25. You guys are gonna have to help me and make sure that I'm doing this the way that I'm supposed to.
Sound official.
Okay, so now we'll move on to the public works and the highway. The replacement cost of 1991 Caterpillar 120G grader. They're asking the voters for $10,000 towards the replacement cost.
20.
Excuse me?
It's 20, I believe.
24, 25.
120G grader, if you're asking for 20, but, oh, excuse me.
24, 25, that's
my
my
fault.
fault.
Yeah, $10,000, I believe that's
You're correct.
Thank you. Replacing the 2001 John Deere 444 loader of $10,000. Another $10,000 for the replacement of the 2004 John Deere 410G backhoe. Replacement of the Western Star, the 2014 Western Star 4900 tandem truck of $100,000. Asking for the replacement cost of $20,000 for the 2015 Ford F550 compact dump truck with a plow and sander. $15,000 for the replacement cost of the International 7400 single axle truck. $30,000 for the replacement of the 2020 International tandem truck. And we're not asking for any money to be put aside for the replacement of the 2021 John Deere mower, or the sidearm mower, or the disc mower. They were looking at expenditures maybe next year to be able to incur those costs. Do we have any questions on those? What they're doing is just an estimated cost, trying to put money away for those costs that are gonna incur in the next year. In and around the town, capital projects. Class 3 road improvements. We have $50,000 that we're asking for improvements for the class 3 roads. Maybe we can talk a little bit about, Richard, what do we know what those improvements would be? Just probably gravel and grading and normal, okay. Transfer station slope stabilization phase 2 of $25,000. Sharon, what is that?
That is the previous 2 slides that we've been working with FEMA for the last 10 to 15 years.
Do you have any questions on that? $5,000 towards the Macy Road slide. We know that we've done a lot of work there on that, just trying to get ourselves ready for what's going on in the Macy Road. The Village Core Master Plan of $30,000. Any questions on the Village Core Master Plan? Have we had a chance to see though what that is, Sharon, or what that incurs, the $30,000, just toward?
The $30,000 is match for grants.
Okay.
In order to keep that project moving forward.
Thank you. And for stormwater sidewalk project, Highgate Airport infrastructure project, and wastewater project, right now we're not asking for anything of 24, 25, but those other 4 that we discussed, it's a total cost of $110,000. Do you have any questions? Okay, moving along.
Good. All right, next we're looking at statement of revenues, general fund revenues, page 44, up at the top there. Under property taxes, looks like $325,429. We're proposing to take in from that. Property tax adjustment, no change. Delinquent property tax interest, no change. Delinquent property tax penalties increased by, looks like $1,000. Tax sale expenses recovered, no change. EDU billing fee retained, an increase of $1,000. For a grand total under property taxes of $327,429. Next is intergovernmental. Swanton Village, looks like an increase of $55,000. Current use, $10,000. Pilot, I'm not sure, what is pilot?
Payment in lieu of taxes.
What is it?
Payment in lieu of taxes.
I learned something today, cool. All right,
Yeah,
payment in lieu of taxes.
The government
Yes.
buildings don't pay a squat.
Well,
Yes, state
That makes sense.
takes whatever left over.
Pilot
Yeah.
years, pilot there.
Okay.
Well, he's a pilot, so
That's
he's
right, no, yeah. I don't
we'll
get
talk
paid.
about here.
So increase for the payment in lieu of taxes of $2,000. Fish and wildlife stays level at 0 for a total increase of $67,000 even. Other revenues, GF interest income, not sure what the GF is. General fund. Income stays level. Insurance recoveries stays level. Wall farm lease stays level. Cell lease tower goes up to an increase of $570.
Do you know what the wall farm lease is?
Yeah. To sell the host fees, level at 0. The EV charge station, no change. Says other income, no change. Town land sales, no change. National opioid settlement, no change. FEMA buyout, no change. Memorial Day revenue, no change. Efficiency Vermont grant, no change. So under other revenues, just an increase of $570. For clerk's fees.
Back up, excuse me.
Yep, go ahead.
Back on the wall farm lease, I would check, Sharon, with the extension to see what the values of the corn land, that's 30 tons of the acre land. That's some of the best corn land in the United States. And it may be worth more than that, but I'm guessing 125 to 150 an acre. but you can confirm that. 100 is fine, it's a good buy for the farm.
Okay,
Just touch base on that.
Thank you.
thanks. Move along under clerk's fees, recording fees minus $4,000. Just curious, why is that?
Just the trend right now we're seeing is with interest rates are very high. People are not refinancing, so there's less recording. There's also less houses to buy, less transfers. So, recording's down, so we make less money. It'll pick back up as soon as interest rates drops, everybody's going to be refinancing.
Yep. Okay.
It's kind of funny when you say when interest rates are high, in 1972,
Right.
I was paying 8%.
It's all relative, right?
How much
Yeah.
were you paying?
8.
What are they now, 6.5?
Yeah, they were up close to 8 though.
Yeah, they were.
1980s, I was paying
They were.
12.
Yeah. You know, about 5 years ago, they were 3.
Yeah, well, that's what it was in 1955 when I started banking as a kid. That was a long time ago. Shut up, Ernie.
You're older than I am.
Alright, so next we got on the list research fees, no change there. Photocopies, no change. Beverage licenses, no change. Marriage licenses, no change. Green Mountain passports, no change. Land postings, no change. Salvage yard certificates, I'm assuming, no change. So under clerk's fees, the total goes down by $4,000. Page 45 at the top, public safety, civil fines minus $1,500. Animal licenses, new, $500 increase. An animal license to renew, a $500 increase for a net under public safety of minus $500 of revenue. Development fees, zoning permits, state level at 0, letter of compliance, minus $200. Subdivision applications, state level at 0. Condition use review, 200, increase of 200. Site plan review, 0, and boundary line adjustments, once again, minus 250 on that. So minus 250 for development fees in general. For the total general fund revenue, it looks like $390,249. Any questions?
Oh, I got one. So, how much do you get at Casella now? I don't know what you're doing with them, but back in the day when I was on the board, we were getting $2 a ton for everything that went across the scale. I don't know what you've done since then. I've been out of the loop for a long time.
I tell you what, I don't know.
We get a check once a month, and it just came in last week. I think it was like $5,600 or $5,800 for the month of December's tipping fees. I don't know.
That's still based on the same formula as they used to.
I don't know that that's it. I've never heard it discussed to be changed. Since
Yeah,
I've
the
been
last
here.
time it was renewed, there was such a long span of renewal that most of the recent select boards have never had to deal with it. Their contract is supposed to be up next year. Casella's already reached out to meet with the select board in March to see what can be done. But the town will have to take a hard look at it because we've been putting a lot of money into saving that site.
So
So,
I think you should work on it though to get something.
yeah.
It makes an awful mess of the town in some places. I'm not complaining about the site being there, but there is a lot of trash trucks that lose stuff. Followed one the other day, but a lot flying out of it.
Yeah.
But I was involved with that whole deal right from the start, from the closing the landfill and dealing with the Canadians to initially build the site. I was curious what's going on with it.
I'd like to invite you back for when we talk about it when the contract expires, so we have some
Yeah.
historical reference, because I have none.
Yeah.
So,
Yeah.
yeah.
I would encourage you to negotiate that contract hard. I know that I had brought this up at town meeting
Yeah.
before, but I live right here in the village of Highgate, and it's cheaper for me to bring my trash to Albert.
Really?
No, I have a hauler pick mine up and I can't beat the fee that he's charging me. It's been the same for 3-4 years and $46 a month, and anything I put out, he takes it.
And at one time, one of the contracts allowed Highgate residents to tip sticker. So there's different avenues of what to look at. They aren't gonna furnish any more money for tipping fees, well then you gotta discount and let our residents put their garbage in.
Well, speaking of trash, I just wanna commend the highway crew. Somebody threw some tires offside the road not far from my house, and I watched them go through the loader and pick them up. And I think it was yesterday or today, they went by with a bunch of, with like mattresses or something they picked up off the furniture that somebody threw there.
Yeah, trash is a problem.
Yeah.
Yeah, if you can come back for that meeting, we also have your,
Right.
have your input. Yeah, I appreciate it. Any more questions on those revenue numbers? No? All right.
And Sharon had brought up the point, how much money the town has had to invest to keep that site viable so they can keep working.
Yes.
So that's a incurred cost too.
Absolutely. Yeah, we're doing our best to keep that place going right now, falling in the river, so.
They have to furnish a little more to help. It's costing us more, it's gonna cost them more.
Agreed.
Because they pass it on, unfortunately. That's business.
Mary?
General fund expenditures for fiscal year 2024 to 2025. Select board stipend and select board social security and Medicare is no change. Town administration, town administrator, negative 3,304. Zoning administrator, 5,460. The group insurance, no change. Social security and Medicare, up 1,466. The retirement contribution, up $38. The professional development, up $200. And the travel expenses, up $400 for a total town administration increase of $42.60. The town clerk salary, up $22.65. Public meetings clerk, up $457. Group insurance, no change. Social security and Medicare, $208. Retirement contributions, $320. Professional dues, no change. Election expenses, up $500. Professional development, up $100. Travel expenses, 0 for no change, for a total expenditures increase of $38.50. Under the lister salary, a negative of $8,816. The Social Security and Medicare, negative of $674. Professional dues, negative of $60. Professional development, negative $100. No change in technical and travel expenses, for a negative change of $9,650. Under town treasurer salary, up $2,206. Insurance buyout of no change of 0. Social Security and Medicare, $168 increase. Retirement contributions, increase of $271. Professional dues, no increase. Travel expenses up to $200, for a total increase of $2,845. Under delinquent tax collector, the compensation is $1,000 up. Social Security and Medicare, up 76. Retirement, up 92, for a total increase of $1,168. Under animal control, no increase in compensation, Social Security or Medicare, or impound of animal expenses, and travel expenses down to a negative of $150, so a negative change of $150 overall. For health officer stipend, Social Security and Medicare, no change. For professional services, negative $500. Travel expenses, no change, for a negative decrease of $500. Planning, Development Review Board and Planning Commission, the stipend, no change. Medicare and Social Security, no change. The DRB stipend, no change. And the Social Security and Medicare for the stipend, no change, for no change in that category. Public safety and service, ambulatory services, up $1,760. Dispatch fees, up $14,000. Police patrol services, $74,340. and solid waste membership 380 for an increase of 90,480. Cultural services, no increase in historical society. Memorial Day for summer concert series. The holiday celebration expense up 500. Highgate Little League, no change for an increase in that category of 500. Department transfers, fire department tax revenue up 12,194. Highway tax revenue up 25,747. Cemetery tax up 400. No change in parks, recreation, and tax revenue. Library tax revenue up 6,350. Arena tax revenue up 30,143. Arena bond payment at no change. CIP tax revenue at 228,000 for a total increase of that department of 302,834. Under social services appropriation, $1 increase in Franklin County Home Health. No changes in the following categories: Vermont Department of Council and Rural Development, Vermont Center of Independent Living, American Red Cross, FCIDC, CVAAA 12, Northwest Special Investigations, Association for the Blind, Vermont Adult Learning, Vermont Greenup, Friends of Lake Champlain, Green Mountain Transit, Lori's House, VACD, Vermont Rural Fire Department Protection, and Vermont Family Network for a total increase of $1 in that category.
What's the requirements for somebody to get social services appropriation?
So if the request is under 1,000, it's just a letter to the select board by December 1st. If it's over 1,000, it requires a petition by 5% of the voters, which is 120. But I believe the two big ones on this list, Franklin County Home Health and one other, you guys have waived that petition requirement year after year. Right? Am I right about that one?
Yeah, it's been waived, I
Okay.
think, since before COVID.
Yep. So the Franklin County Field Days put in the request for the $5,000, but it wasn't a social service agency, which is why it has its own article.
Under town operations, consulting services, no change. Professional audit, a change of 500. Legal services and technical services, no change. Custodial service, an increase of 3,100. No change in the building, grounds and maintenance, and equipment maintenance. Under construction service, a negative of 16,000. Passive insurance, a negative of 6,272. Workers' comp, up $780. Unemployment compensation, up $81. Life insurance, up $756. Communications, a negative 1,000. Postage, up 2,000. Printing and binding, at a 0 increase. The NRPC dues at a 172 increase. The LCT dues increase of 122. Franklin County assessment up 5,500. General supplies up 1,000. Natural gas up 100. No expected change in electricity. Furniture and equipment, no change. Tax abatement up 2,772. Other expenses, grant expenses, buyout expenses, and equipment grant, all no change, for a negative increase in that, or negative in that category of $5,389. Total expenditures, $390,249.
The electricity, is that rate included or just with this unit? Is that total electrical cost of the town?
No, I believe the rink has its own electrical line item, but the towns includes streetlights and buildings, salt shed.
Everything but the unit.
Correct. And the library, if the library has their own electrical as well.
All set. So the fire department budget, exactly what would you like me to?
Why don't you just hit the changes? Just don't worry about the zeros.
Right, okay, so, for fire department fundraising, $5,000. Fire department tax revenue, $65,600, for a total of $70,600. Want to go to each one, each item?
No, bump over to budget change,
Just,
next column over to the right.
okay, so we have a fire department workers' comp with a change of $852. The fire department stipend is at $3,500. Social Security Medicare, $267. Personal protective gear, $3,000. Air packs and tanks, $2,000. PCIF insurance, I'm not sure what that is, to be very honest with you.
Passive insurance,
So
that's
passive.
our, yep.
So it's a negative $1,299. Dispatching fees, $574 increase. Public relations, $1,000. And then we go to annual dues, $200. Gasoline, $300. Diesel, $800. Uniforms are $500. And the general supplies are $500, all increases. For a total increase of $12,194. Any questions? Vanessa?
Yeah.
Thanks, guys.
Good night, thank you. So we'll go to page 50, which is the library fund. And we'll start, that's two different categories. We'll start off with the library revenue. And that's the only change is the tax revenue of $6,350 with a total budget proposed for 24-25 of $135,289. That's just on the library revenue side. We'll now go to the expenditures. The library salary change of $2,035. Moving down, the other changes will be the HPL, SS, and Medicare of $156. The HPL retirement contribution of $251. HPI membership and dues of $500 increased. There is a negative $5 on the HPL unemployment compensation. There's an increase of $424 on HPL workers' compensation. There is, moving our way down to HPL custodial services, it's an increase of $1,200. Down to the passive insurance, there's an increase, a decrease of $711. Am I correct?
Yes.
Okay. Thank you. The Live Life STD insurance, it's an increase of $250. Moving down to the HPL postage, an increase of $400. Printing and binding, HPL, there's an increase of $200. An increase of the general supplies of $350. Summer programs, an increase of $200. There is a negative $100 in the HPL teen program. Moving down to the craft fair, be an increase of $300. Electricity, an increase of $400. To the books and periodicals, an increase of $500, bringing a total change of $6,350 increase from a budgeted of 24-25, it'd be $135,289. Have anybody any questions on those?
Okay, Vern?
Alrighty, moving along for the cemetery fund for revenue, got an increase of $400, for a total increase of $400 for all revenue fund. Cemetery expenditures, mowing, an increase of $10,000. Tree removal, minus $1,000. Ground repair and maintenance, minus $4,000. Stone repair and cleaning, increase of $400. Fence install and repair, minus $5,000. For a net of a $400 increase for cemetery expenditures. On to the computerization and preservation fund. Computerization fees, minus $3,000. Preservation fees, minus $2,000. For a net minus $6,000 for the computerization and preservation fund. For the expenditures portion of that, we've got digitized maps and land records of minus $3,000. Technology purchase, minus $8,500. Network and computer increase of $5,000 for a net change of minus $6,000. And finally here down to the ARPA fund. Looks like no change.
Well, it is a change.
Oh,
We're
it's gotta be
proposing
something.
150,000 of that money be
Nope,
used.
there it is, yeah.
Yeah.
So 150,000 of it to be used and
100 toward the CIP and then 50 toward the increased police contract.
how much would be left if that gets spent? Round about.
I think it's 565,000.
Still a decent amount of money, okay. Any questions on cemetery revenue, computerization, preservation fund, or ARPA?
Mary?
Hey, arena and rec revenue, ice rental increase of 15,000, skate programs increase of 3,000, turf rental negative 500, facility rental increase of 5,000, fall programs increase of 500, winter programs a negative of 750, spring programs a negative of 2,000, summer programs a negative of 4,500, the live bar negative 500, Little League a negative 2,500, arena fund tax revenue of 30,143 increase, transfer in of 28,000, leaving a balance increase of 14,893. Under expenditures, facility wages of 6,616 increase, Social Security and Medicare 506 increase, unemployment increase of 192, retirement increase of 508, workers' comp increasement of 729, buildings and grounds of 3,000 increase, natural gas 2,000 increase, electricity a 2,000 increase, Zamboni maintenance a 6,500 increase, service contracts an increase of 5,000, general supplies increase of 500, professional development increase of 500, postage a negative 150, summer programs a negative 3,500, winter programs an increase of 500, spring program negative 1,000, the AFJD G2235 negative 250, AFJD zero turn negative of 250, I'm assuming John Deere 3,033R negative of 6,500, passive insurance negative of 3,508, standard life increase of 500, travel expense increase of 1,000 for a total change of expenditures of $14,893.
What is the electrical based on? How do they rate their charge for the for the grid? Is it the startup when all the compressors start and they base it on that number right along? Or is it a monthly?
It's a monthly.
It's a monthly? Okay. Because we had a suggestion years ago, and I don't know if it can be implemented. We'd fire up the generator at the same time they were building their ice and try to reduce that big monthly
That
cost.
spike,
Pardon?
Yeah,
that spike.
yeah,
Yes,
that's a great way of thinking, yeah.
it may not furnish all the KW needs, but it would reduce the pull from their lines. And I know on some businesses, they charge you the rest of the year on that peak.
That's right. Yep.
So it's just a.
Something we should definitely look into.
Another question that is really for the rec board, not you guys, but maybe somebody knows. Do you know with the ice rentals, if Highgate, like if Maha pays the same
They don't,
fee as out of town?
they don't. They pay $10 per hour less. Maha and MBU pay $175 an hour, anyone else pays $185. Which, over the course of the season, that adds up pretty good.
No, I'm glad.
Yeah,
I mean,
as it should be, because we're already paying.
Yep.
it wouldn't hurt my feelings if the difference was greater.
Yeah, it's a good question.
All right, Public Works, expenditures, the director's salary is a negative $9,338. Crew wages are $5,097. Temp help wages are a negative $10,000. Director overtime, $13,500. The crew overtime, $1,098. Insurance buyout, a negative $4,800. Group health insurance, $9,000. The Social Security Medicare, a negative $340. The retirement contribution, $829. Professional dues, $50. Unemployment compensation, minus $128. Workers' comp, $1,366. General permit fee, $650. The bale mulcher and hydro seed, $500. The John Deere 5090M, a negative $500. The sidearm mower, $250. The roadside mower, $500. The 1991 grader, $500. The 2001 loader, a minus $500. The 2004 backhoe, a minus $500. The 2015 Ford F550, a minus $2,000. The 2016 International, $1,000. The plow maintenance, $4,000. Passive insurance, a minus $2,943. And life STD insurance, $756. Communications and radios, a minus $7,000. Travel, minus $800. Diesel, minus $10,000. Oil and grease is $2,000. Street signs, $500. Guardrails, minus $10,000. Stone and gravel, $25,000. Paving material, $20,000. Crack sealing, $3,000. Equipment grant, VLCT equipment grant highway, $5,000. For a total difference of $35,747.
Is there still warranty on that 5090 2021 with John Deere?
I do not know. Something we'll find out for you.
Just curious if it was
Yeah.
5 year
I don't know what the warranty was when it was
purchase.
purchased.
Any other questions? Bob's got something.
Okay, I will say that we have 4 dedications this year based on service. So we are dedicating our town report to Butch Brusso, Amy Reynolds, Pete St. Germain, and Bruce Ryan, all who have had many years of service to the town. Thank you very much, and please congratulate them as you see them on the street.
Bruce ain't gonna be on the track, right?
Well, probably not. Bruce has passed away, but
Like I said, he called for adjournment.
he certainly did.
Yeah, he just said, that's fine.
That was his thing.
That was his,
Yeah.
that was his jam.
Okay, I have 2 things for executive, and that's it.
Any other questions?
No, I have a comment. And
Yep.
You're starting to develop a pattern on your equipment. You're spending about $30,000 a year. Maybe it's a time to start investigating leasing. If your leasing costs you $30,000 a year, you're actually better off, because you don't have to repair it. So just throwing that out there.
Yeah.
That's a great point.
Cost per year at this point may be favorable to lease as
Yep.
opposed to purchase and set $30,000 a year aside. Years ago, we could set 15, then it went to 20, then it went to 25, now you're talking 30. So just a point.
Absolutely.
Thank you.
Many good ideas floated tonight from the audience. I like it. Makes our job easier.
Old school.
Yeah. If there's no other questions, thanks again to Butch for his service, Amy and Peter, and Nod or Bruce, meeting adjourned.